Shalom, shalom, Israel. Can everybody hear me? I always like to check, make sure I got sound okay. Can I be heard? If I can get a one in the chat, if y'all can hear me okay, I would appreciate it. Y'all can hear me if I can just get a one in the chat. The water, the water. All right. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbat to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Alatham by Hashem Yahweh Shah to the sisters. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohana. Started out of 125th Street, Started out of 1 West 125th Street. And since 1969, we've been teaching the truth of the Bible. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite or Christian group. All right. We're going to do some quick shout outs. We got Officer Yarash Amath in the building. We got Officer Prashad in the building. Trooper Kazakia. Trooper Yagadar. And Sister Tawana. Give a hand clap to Trooper Yagadar. He is officially an officer in training. Good job, sir. Good job. You've been doing an excellent work. That is not a light task. And congratulations. Congratulations, brother. All right. So we're gonna get into it tonight. As y'all can see from the title, we're gonna talk about how Christ taught us to keep the law. Christ taught us to keep the law. Now, the Christian church will have you believe that we are no longer obligated to teach the law, that Christ taught that we didn't have to, and we're going to completely eliminate that thought tonight and give y'all some information as far as how we know we're supposed to teach the law and what Christ actually taught as it's explained in the Bible. Ayundabar, you're doing an excellent job, brother. Good job. All right, so what I like to do, y'all know I love participation. I appreciate y'all. Y'all always be participating with me. So, what are some sayings, or even maybe some scriptures that Christians will throw at you to make people believe or prove that they believe, that we no longer have to keep the law? What are some I mean, because they got a million different sayings, they got some scriptures that they throw out there that they are completely misinterpreting and completely don't understand what the Bible is saying, but they got a lot of them. So if y'all could just throw a few at me, because we're gonna, I got a few over here, but what's the ones that y'all have heard that Christians say or give as proof that we don't have to keep the law anymore? Who got a couple of them? Who got one? They got a gang up. I tell you what, I start you off with one. They tell you all the time, well, Jesus knows my heart. And what they mean by that is I can do anything on earth. I can do the complete worst thing. I can be a murderer, killer, but Jesus knows my heart, so it's okay. All right. We got some trooper, because I can say if you just pray over your food, God bless it no matter what. Exactly. No matter what the food is. All you gotta do is pray over it. And once you pray over it, that means it's fine to eat then. All right, we got Trooper Shemagan Bar in the building. All right. Let's see. We got some more. New Testament is an excuse that Christ did away with the law. Right? That's absolutely true. They say when he came, it's done now. Sister Tawana. Christ died on the cross for my sins. Absolutely. Absolutely, that's what they say. And they're completely wrong, but we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. Anybody else want to chime in? We are talking about either scriptures that Christians use or cliches that they use to argue that they no longer have to keep the law. That Christ came and did away with the law. Anybody else want to chime in? Anybody else want to chime in? I give y'all another one. Another one they say is hold on. Horrible understanding of John 3:16. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now that's more about Christ loving everybody and the Most High loving everybody, not specifically about sin. But you are absolutely right. They misinterpret the heck out of that also. Let's see. Trooper Shamaga Bar said that we are Gentiles. Right, right. They um, in order to believe that we no longer have to follow the law, they also have to believe that we're Gentiles and we're not Israel. Because that means it was opened up to everybody, which means automatically the law is done away with. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. All right. Let's see. Trooper Yagadar. All you have to do is accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you are covered for life. Exactly. All you gotta do is walk in, get dunked in that water, repeat after the pastor, and now no matter what you do, you are absolutely fine. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you do from here on out, you're good to go, which makes absolutely no sense, right? All right, so we're gonna get into it. First question, though, right? First question: what is sin? What is sin? I'm looking at the troopers. What is sin according to the Bible? According to the Bible, what is sin? All right, all right, all right. We got transgression of the law. Transgression of the law. Give Trooper Shamaga Bar a hand. Give Trooper Yagadar a hand. Give Trooper Kazak a hand. Breaking of the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. Now, who has the precept? Who can give me the precept for it? Who can give me the precept for it? Now, we laying a little bit of foundation because as we get into these scriptures, we're gonna need to make sure we have the foundation in the back of our mind as we read through these scriptures. So, who can give me the precept for uh, the fact that sin is a transgression of the law? Give Trooper Yagadar a hand. Who else want to give it a shot? Anybody else? Chime in. Come on. You are absolutely right, Shemaka. He is absolutely fast. Absolutely. Absolutely. He is absolutely right, too. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, right? This is John chapter 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. If you commit sin, then you have also transgressed the law. Why? Next line. For sin is the transgression of the law. So again, the Christian church, how many times have you been in the Christian church and heard somebody break that down? No, because they don't believe we're under the law anymore. So they don't want to really talk about the transgression of the law as being sin. They just talk about law as this, they just talk about sin as this abstract idea that you shouldn't be doing, but they're not willing to be held fully accountable. So all right, hold on. They're not fully willing. They're not willing to be held fully accountable for the law. Though Christ said it is very very simple. They're not interested in that, right? So now let's keep going because again, the Christian church doesn't believe blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the Israelites of the Bible. So they have to believe that the law is done away with, so they can be grafted in because our oppressor has taught them, or that our oppressor has taught, and all the pastors and all that good stuff. They learned all that from our oppressor, so they learned that we're not the children of Israel. So the law has to be done away with. That's how you can get grafted in. All nonsense. But next question: who is the law for? Who is the law given to? And what's my precept? And somebody try to beat Yagadar. It's friendly competition. Who was the law given to, and what's my precept? Who was the law given to? Who want to take it? Who want to give it a shot? I know y'all know it. All right. I see a couple answers. Shemaga Bar, you got the right answer. I need a precept though. Who else want to give it a shot? All right, for the sake of time, give Trooper Yagadar a hand. He is absolutely right. Trooper Shemagabar was correct. He just didn't have a precept. That's all right, though. That is all right. So let's read it real quick. This is Psalms 147, verse 19. It says, He showeth his word unto Jacob. We all know who Jacob is. Khan, you're right. Also, Trooper Kazaki. All right. For we are also we are Israelites to whom pertains the adoption and the glory pertaining to giving of the law. Absolutely. That's a good precept too. That's a good precept too. For the sake of this class, we're going to focus on Psalms 147 and 19 and 20. All right. You'll understand more as we go along. Okay. So, yeah, he showed his, so like he showed his word unto Jacob. We all know Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He showed his word to Jacob. Jacob's name was changed to Israel. The scripture goes on, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So he showed his statutes, laws, statutes, and commandments to Jacob and or Israel and the children of Israel. All right. Verse 20. He hath not dealt so with any nation. Israel is the only nation that was given the laws, statutes, and commandments of the nations that are around today. It's just us. These other nations are not obligated. They don't have the relationship with the Most High as a whole that we do because we are a special chosen people unto the Most High. They are not. All right. It says and so like and as for his judgments, they have not known them. They don't know his judgments the way we know his judgments because they were not given the law the way we were given the law. Well, they were not given the law at all. They don't know his judgments. We know his judgments. And we're experiencing his judgments every day, right? The curses that befall the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, our communities, our children, our families, all of that is the Most High's judgment uh, for not following his laws, statutes, and commandments, right? But that is also the proof that we are the children of Israel because no other nation knows his judgment because they weren't given his law, all right? Praise ye the Most High. All right. So, foundation is sin is the transgression of the law, and the law was only given to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians or Israelites. All right. Now, I got a few scriptures here that represent a few of the things that Christians say as proof that we no longer need to follow the law. Right. So the first one we're gonna go to is Ephesians 2:8. It says, "For by grace are ye saved through faith." Sounds good, right? Saved through faith in Yahweh Shah Mashiach and the grace that his sacrifice provided. All right. And not it's like and that not of yourselves. We want to save ourselves, right? We can't save, we're not capable of saving ourselves. Okay. I get that, right? Because none of us were born in the truth, right? We were breaking the law, we were transgressing the law, we were sinning, right? So clearly we couldn't save ourselves. Okay. It is a gift of God, gift of the Most High. Sure. Get all that. But where does that say we don't need to follow the law, statutes, and commandments? It does not, right? So Oftentimes these scriptures, you all know, like I know, they're taken out of context. They'll just read that one thing and it means all this stuff. And it's like, well, wait a minute, well, give me the context, right? So let's jump all the way back to verse 1. So this is Ephesians 2 and 1. And you hath he quickened. What does that word mean? Quickened. Who can tell me? Who can tell me what quickened means? Quickened. And you hath he quickened. Fast la, kind of like discovered la. Super Yagadar boy. You might have to have him like count to 30 or something before he answers to get people. Y'all answer faster than him though. I give you credit. But he's absolutely right. Give him a hand to make alive. All right. So the scripture says, and you hath he quickened, made alive, right? Absolutely. You hath he quickened or made alive, who were dead in trespasses and sin. All right. Now, this is the book of Ephesians, right? So this is Paul speaking to, I believe it's pronounced, folks in Ephesus, I think is how you pronounce it. But again, the Christian church likes to say that all these letters were written to Gentiles, right? Other nations, non-Israelites. But again, this first verse says, and you hath he quickened. So he's made alive these people who were dead in trespasses and sins. So we know right there, based on the scriptures, this has to be talking to Israel because we are the only ones who were subject and the only ones who were given the law. So we're the only ones who can transgress the law. All right. So we're technically the only ones who can sin biblically. So this is a clear understanding up front that this is talking to Israel. All right. So skip down to verse 5. It says, even when we were dead in sins, there it is again. Sin is a transgression of law, reiterating who we're talking to, hath quickened us together with Christ. By grace ye are saved. So again, it's made us alive with Christ. Now, what does this do? A lot of, the New Testament talks a lot about grace. The Christian church talks a lot about grace. What is the Christian church's perspective of grace? What does grace mean to the Christian church? You can tell me what grace means to the Christian church. All right. Michael Barr saying being able to sin and pray the sin off. All right. Shibazaki said you can get away with anything without repercussion. Sister Tawana says forgiveness despite your sin. All correct answers. Trooper Yagadar says they believe grace has no time limit. All right. So grace, and I've heard this breakdown from several of the captains, right? Let's say, you know, your electric bill is due on the 10th, right? Work them out. What will they give you? There's a particular term. Come up and tell you that, tell them that they'll work something out. You know, you might push it back a little bit, might figure out how much you can pay on whatever date, but there's a particular term for the time that you are allotted, the additional time. There y'all go. Absolutely, absolutely. Con. Give Trooper Yagadar a hand. Give Sister Tawana a hand. Give Trooper Kazaki a hand. That is a grace period. So for that time, you're under grace, meaning they're not gonna come cut your lights out. You are under a grace period. Now, let's say it's due on the 10th. They give you a grace period to the 20th, and you don't pay the bill. What happens? What happens when that grace period is up and you still have not paid the bill? Absolutely. Sister Tawana and God, they cut it off. Sister Yagada, they cutting off them lights. They gotta go. You could be sitting in the dark. But you're right. If it was like rent, like we talk about lights, I think that's what I said. I might have messed up if I did, Slocky. But yes, you're absolutely right. Once your grace period is over, more than allowed. I got you. No worries. Yeah, once your grace period is over, though, that's it. Right? Now we, as Israel, we don't have the benefit of knowing when the grace period is going to be up. Okay? But the grace period is a time to get in line with what the Most High is requiring of us. Just like the grace period in the example is a time to get in line with what you are owed or what you owe the power company. Just is what it is. It's not even, again, it's not rocket science, right? But they have this perception that grace is I can just do whatever I want to do. I never have to get in line. Like Trooper Shemaga Bar said, I could just pray it off and I'm good. Oh, Salaki, I didn't see absolutely right, Trooper Shemaga Bar. I didn't see an answer before. But yeah, it's just, they have this perspective that I can pray over it because Christ came and now we're good. I don't have nothing to worry about. I can do whatever I want. We talked about it before. Catholics say you go in there in the confession booth and you can confess the most heinous, wicked thing and give you some homework assignments and you're supposed to be good. It makes absolutely no sense, right? But this is what they teach. So let's keep going. So like it. Verse 6, it says, and he, is that what I want to do? Yep. And he and hath raised us up together and made us sit together in heavenly places in Yahweh Shah Mashiach. Right? So our grace is through Yahweh Shah Mashiach. We know this, right? That's part of it. The Christian church wants you to believe that's all of it. That's just part of it, right? Let's go to verse 8. It says, for by grace ye are saved through faith. Sure, you have to understand and believe that Christ is our King, and that's who we need to follow. That's the faith piece of it. It says, and not of yourselves. Correct. It's going back to the same verse that they quote. It's not of ourselves. It is a gift of the Most High. Because before this, before Christ came, we had to go through official sacrificial processes. for lack of a better term. Like there was a whole process. There was certain sacrifices you had to make for this type of sin. There were other sacrifices you had to make for this type of sin, you know. But Christ came and said, his sacrifice was ultimate for all of our sins, right? Cool, no problem, appreciate it. But that does not mean you can now do whatever you want to with no repercussion, right? Verse 9 says, not of works, lest any man should boast. Now, what this means is, you know, it's not of your works, because none of them then were, especially these folks, because they were out and they were scattered. So they were in all these different countries. They weren't keeping the law. We even had a problem keeping the law in Jerusalem. The Southern Kingdom was having a problem keeping the law. So no man should be cocky enough, like I'm keeping the law, so I'm fine, and I don't need to follow Christ. No, no, that's not how it works. It's twofold. You follow Christ and you keep the law. And that's what we do in the ISUPK. We follow Christ and we keep the law. Another word for keeping the law is fighting your demons. You fight those demons. It ain't always easy. But you're the one in control. It's about discipline most often. And that's what we teach here in the ISUPK. That's what we learn here in the ISUPK. You learn how to be disciplined. You learn how to fight your demons so that you can be perfect in the Most High's eyes. That's biblical. All right, we're going to keep going. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to jump over to Romans 6 and oh yeah, this is great. Romans 6 and 14. It says, for sin shall not have dominion over you. Sin shall not have dominion over you. We talked about that before. Not allowing sin to take over your decision making, not allowing sin to run you. We talked about how a lot of times with substance abuse and things of that nature, we can be addicted to virtually anything where we just don't have the discipline. So we're just doing whatever we're doing to satisfy this thing, whether it be a drug, whether it be addiction to stealing. Some people can't help it, lying, gossiping, all that good stuff, talking about people back, all that stuff that we can just have issues with, and we allow those things to take over us, right? It goes on, it says, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. This is another scripture that a Christian might use to say, see, I'm not under the law, I'm under grace. I don't have to worry about the law because I'm forgiven for everything I do right now. All I got to do is pray about it. So again, let's jump back a little bit and get this in context, right? Let's go back to 14. I'm Salakia. That's where we start. Let's go back to 11. It says, likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin. Now, I don't know, where everybody's from, but that word reckon, my people's from the country, so I'm familiar with the word. But who can tell me what it means in this context? Because reckon is an old word, but right now it's a country word. You don't hear too many folks up north talking about what they reckon this and they reckon that. But who can tell me what that means in this context, right? All right. I see you. I see your answer, brother. All right. I got a couple answers. Who else want to try? Okay. All right. All right. Give Trooper Yagadar a hand. That's in line. Give Sister Tawana a hand. That's also in line. All right. The definition according to Webster's, the one that is most applicable to this, it says to regard or think of as or to consider, right? So Sister Tanala was right. Tawana Salaka was right there. Um, says likewise, reckon or consider ye also yourselves to be dead unto sin. Again, sin, transgression of the law. Consider yourself. Consider. Think of yourself that you transgressing the law is over and done with. That man is dead. That person who broke the law willingly and had no care for it. Consider that person dead. Consider that person gone. It goes on, but alive unto the Most High through Yahweh Shai Mashiach our Lord. So as far as sin is concerned, breaking the law, consider yourself dead in that. Because now you're alive because you're following the law and you're following Christ. But you can only do that if you're taking this law seriously, right? If you walk around saying, well, I can do what I want, I can celebrate all these holidays that I shouldn't be, I can eat whatever I want. Well, that means that you can't consider that man, you can't consider yourself dead unto sin because you're just actively living it. I mean, you're dead, but you can't consider yourself dead unto sin. All right, let's keep going. Verse 12 says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body. What does that mean? To reign in your mortal body. Let not sin reign in your mortal body. Not the right word. What does it mean to reign? There we go. All right. All right. Give Trooper Shamaga Bar a hand. Give Trooper Yagada a hand. To rule over your body. Take over is another good word, Troop. But rule is definitely it. Don't allow sin, don't allow breaking the law to rule over your body. Which means what? How do you make sure that doesn't happen? There's a particular word I'm looking for that we in the ISUPK, you'll hear it often. How do you make sure that sin doesn't rule over your mortal body? There's a particular word. Um, you're on it. You're on it, Trooper Kazaki. You're on it. But there's a particular word I'm looking for. All right. I see you, Trooper Yagadar. Trooper Shamaga Bar, you close. You close, like Trooper Kazaki was. You close. You all have abstained. Even in order to abstain from anything, you need something. I want to give it to y'all too. Um, you're gonna need something that's another word in order to be able to abstain from a thing. Because abstaining from something is just like choosing not to do it, right? Which is what we are to do with some of the law, statutes, and commandments. We gotta make sure we're not eating the wrong food, so on and so forth, right? But in order to maintain that, there we go. Absolutely. Your trooper, Yagadar hand. Discipline is the word I was looking for. Absolutely. Trooper Shamaga Bar hand. Discipline is what we are taught in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. You have to have discipline. We have to have discipline in order to do anything. But definitely, if you're going to survive in here, you got to have discipline. You got to be able to follow the laws, to follow orders, to just do everything that needs to be done. And that's not always what our mortal bodies or our carnal side wants. But it takes discipline. And that's what we're taught in here. Absolutely. All right, let's keep going. It says that ye should obey. In fact, I'm going to start from the top. It says, let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lusts thereof. That's what we're fighting against. Lusts, demons, wicked spirits, all of that. Again, I heard several of the captains say, you know what? You know what we're tempted with? The things that we love. We are tempted with the things that we desire, that our carnal selves desire. It takes discipline to overcome that and maintain what we're supposed to do. We were talking about it before, like, some people, you tell them they can't have, iodine, or not iodine, but you tell them they got an iodine allergy, so they can't eat shrimp, crab, shrimp, crab, and lobster because there's a medical thing, right? You got people in the world that hear that and it makes them want it so much more. Makes them want it so much more because they've been told they can't have it. We talked about people popping Benadryl when they eat. That's a lack of discipline. ISUPK, we're taught discipline. We're taught to maintain these laws, statutes, and commandments. We do what we're supposed to do. We don't do what we're not supposed to do, and we follow orders. So much of it is that simple. So much of it, when you remove, your emotions and your pride and stuff like that. Because again, we know we're coming in out of the world. We're coming in out of the world. It's a process. It's not what we are used to. Captain Nashad says it all the time. There's 6 months The first 6 months, when anyone comes into the school, you're trying to shed yourself for the world. Because in the world, we're taught we can do whatever we want. We can tell we can eat whatever we want. We really don't have to answer to anybody in the world. You don't have to answer to anybody about anything that you choose to do, which is why it's so hard for our people to understand that we have to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. In the world, you're feeding that negative spirit. You're feeding that wickedness. You're feeding that carnal desire, that those lusts. The world and the Christian church, if we're being honest, the world and the Christian church teaches you to feed your lusts, to obey your lusts, to do whatever your heart desires. It takes discipline not to do that, and that's what we learn in the ISUPK. So let's keep going. Verse 13 says, "Neither yield ye your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin." Now, this is talking to the church in Rome, saying, "Hey, you guys are a body, but don't use your members, your body, for unrighteousness. Don't do that. We're called to a higher, we got a higher standard here. We're following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So those things that you may have been doing, we can't do that no more. Now we got to follow these laws. And in order to follow these laws, as the verse goes on, it says, but yield yourself unto the Most High." Yield yourself. Humble yourself. Bring yourself down a couple notches and understand that what's written in the laws, statutes, and commandments are what we need to do. Not what you want to do. Not how you feel about it. And that could be a tough pill to swallow, boy. It's not for everybody. Everybody ain't strong enough. Everybody doesn't have the discipline that's required. I mean, because of that, if you really think about it, discipline is one of those things that the world doesn't, it's not, people say you should have it, but they don't be that serious. Because people chase happiness and highs. And when I say highs, I'm not just talking about drugs. People chase these things in the world. There's a high that you get. There's a high that certain people get from shopping. There's a high that certain people get from traveling. And that's what people just chase, right? If you're in the world, you're chasing a high all the time. It's just a function of what you're getting high on. Somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, man, we're not supposed to eat shrimp, crab, and pork, lobster. We're not supposed to eat that stuff." Nah, man, I ain't doing that. Because of the high they get when they go to Red Lobster. Because of the high they get when they go somewhere and get a slab of ribs. It's a high. But that's that carnal nature that we're just chasing. We're trying to satisfy. We're trying to make sure that that lust is fed. That's what the world teaches. That's what the Christian church teaches. ISUPK the only place that you can find the truth. For Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, it's the only place that you can find the truth that, hey, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. You need to have some damn discipline. Buckle down and hold yourself accountable. Get around some men that's going to hold you accountable. All right, let's keep going. It says, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto God. Meaning, use your members as righteousness unto God. Use your members, as ISUPK does, to go teach people that they need to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Don't teach them that they can do anything they want. That's using your members as instruments of unrighteousness. That's the Christian church all day. Why did these things need to be said? Because again, these folks were coming out of this pagan environment. They were living in an area where they weren't practicing the law, statutes, and commandments. They were living in areas where they were practicing Christmas and Halloween and Valentine's Day and all of those things. We all know those are pagan rituals. Those are pagan celebrations. Those are worship. That's the worship of pagan gods. So Paul is saying, hey man, stop doing that. Don't use your members to teach people to break the law. Use them for righteousness. Teach them what they're supposed to be doing. All right. Verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you. Again, don't let sin reign over you. Have some discipline. It's like Captain not Shine the billion. How about Shabbat Shabbat, sir? All right, sis. I see. But yeah, have some discipline. Have some discipline. Don't continue to do the things that you're doing to satisfy your carnal nature. Don't do it. Teach these people, like you learn. Teach them to follow the law, statutes, and commandments out here. All right. Goes on. For ye are not under the law, but under grace. So there you go again. There you go again. There go another one. That's the one we read, right? But we're walking up to this. Because ye are not under the law, but under grace. We have an understanding now as we read this, right? Because now this is the thing that Christians don't do. They don't take it to verse 15. They don't give you the backstory. They don't take it to verse 15. Verse 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law? What does that mean to not be under the law? There's a very specific meaning. In this context, to not be under the law. We are under grace. We are not under the law. Not follow the law, statutes, and commandments. La. That's not quite it. In fact, that's absolutely not it. So, what does it mean to not be under the law, but under grace? All right. I got an answer. Somebody else give it a shot. Um, time. You are almost there, Trooper Yagadar. You're almost there. Um, when Trooper Yagadar said, if we're not breaking the law, we're not subject to the punishment of the law. That's true. We're under grace rehearsing the acts. That's true. But not being under the law in this context specifically means we are not under the punishment of the law, right? Think about when oh, let me show a couple more. meaning a priest is not going to come kill you. Anyway, a priest is not going to come and kill you on the spot if you eat, if you break the dietary law. Think about Christ when they brought the lady out for, of course, I'm paraphrasing, when they brought the lady out for adultery, right? The law, according to the law, she was supposed to die. So in this context, it's not speaking so much about keeping the law or maintaining the law, statutes, and commandments. It's talking more about not being subject to the punishment of the law. All right. So that's what it's really talking about. We're not under the punishment of the law because we are under grace. Again, the grace period. So we can come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. The grace period, so that if you don't pay the bill, they don't cut your lights off. Right? But at some point, this grace period is going to be over. All right. Now I want to jump back a little bit because a lot of this section talked about we talked about discipline and not being, they talked about discipline and not allowing yourself to be under the dominion of sin and so on and so forth. Right. Christ spoke about that at one point. Question I have: when do you? How do I want to phrase this? How do you know you're sure, I'll go with this question. How do you know? No, that's what I'm gonna ask. What do you have to do to follow the law, statutes, and commandments? There are gonna be several answers. They're probably all gonna be about right. I'm looking for something specific, and I'm gonna take out to a scripture for it. But what do you have to do in order to follow the law, statutes, and commandments? Having discipline is one of them. It's a way to phrase it. There's another way to phrase it. Because when we're following the law, statutes, and commandments, we are fighting. Life is about warfare, as Captain Dr. Shah says all the time. We are fighting. So in order to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, to know you're doing so, what are you doing? Or what do you have to do? We're going to give it a shot. All right. You kind of on it. You kind of on it. Trooper Yagadar says, examine yourself constantly. That's part of it. Let's see, you got 2 Corinthians 13:5. Let's go there. All right, 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5 says, examine yourselves. Absolutely, you have to examine yourself. Whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahushua Mashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. That's a good word. Who knows what reprobates mean? Let's look that up. That is a great word. Who knows what that word means? All right, you in line with it, sis. Oh no, you're absolutely on point. I misread that. Your sister hand, unprincipled. Unprincipled. It's a good scripture. Not the one that's not quite the answer I was looking for. Not quite the answer I was looking for. I'm still gonna give y'all a couple minutes. Morally corrupt, yes. Yes, that's what that means. But walk with me. I think I'm gonna give it to y'all for time's sake, right? Just corrupt. Yeah, that's what all that means. Absolutely. Y'all are all correct as far as what that word means. Now, where I was going though is I wanted to get to how do you know your fight your I almost gave it to y'all that quick. You're following the law. The law is about fighting your demons. It's about having discipline. But to have discipline, you have to fight your demons. You have to fight those things because again, we're tempted by what we want. We're tempted by what we love. It's easy to fight a demon if you're not a particular demon if that don't really affect you. You got some people, for example, you got some people who may have never smoked in their life. Coming into the truth and realize you can't smoke cigarettes and black and mild, ain't no big deal for them. It's nothing. But that same person may love pork, may love pork bacon. They may love it to death. They may have been eating a pound of it every morning or something. I don't know. For that person, that's gonna be a tough fight. And they're gonna have to fight that demon. And it's gonna take discipline, right? And it's also gonna be a process. Again, the Christian church will have you believe, hey, once you dunked in that water and come out, you good. Now, at the same token, they'll tell you you're good, all your sins are gone, and you shouldn't be sinning, sort of, but you can do whatever you want. I guess the most confusing thing in the world. Because they don't even believe in keeping the law, but don't be bad. Con or con. The church teaches our people to believe in magic. Absolutely. Con or con. Complete voodoo or whatever you want to call it. I mean, everything is just magical and you don't have to do anything and you don't have to put forth no effort. You ain't got to fight no demons and it's going to be okay. Right? So let's go to a parable that Christ gave. All right? Talking about demons and uh, unclean spirits. I'm gonna get to that scripture in 1 second. All right, Matthew verse 12. Salakia, chapter 12, verse 43. It says, when an unclean spirit, and this is Christ talking, when an unclean spirit is gone out of a man. So you had this thing you was fighting. You had this battle you was having with this unclean spirit, right? Whether it be eating unclean food or sleeping with brothers' wives or smoking or whatever. You had this thing and you got over it, right? When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man. Now you don't fought it. It's gone. It says he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Now this is talking about the spirit. It's talking about that unclean spirit. That unclean spirit is walking around dry places. He's looking for somewhere to rest, but he can't find a place, right? Verse 44, it says, then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. What's the house he's talking about? What house is this unclean spirit referencing? Give Trooper Shemagabar a hand. The body. The body of the man that he came out of. Give Trooper Yagadar a hand. The body of the vessel. Kind. So the unclean spirit is out, right? The man beat him, and all of a sudden the spirit says, "You know what? I'm going back." It says, and when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. What does garnished mean? Like the first time I read this, I thought about some food. They garnish plates and stuff. Like if you go to a restaurant, they call that old extra stuff, leaves and stuff. They call that garnish. But what does it mean in this context? What is garnished? It's empty, swept, and garnished. Take away, la'ah. Not take away. Who else gonna give it a shot? Empty, swept, and garnished. Burnt, la'ah. Not burnt. Destroyed, la'ah. All right. 3 strikes. I'm gonna suggest Trooper Shemagabar, look it up in the Webster's dictionary. That's what we use. Look it up in the Webster's dictionary on the app. Webster's, what is it? Webster's something. Merriam Webster's. It's an app. You can download it on your phone. I have it on mine. It's very, very useful when you're going through these scriptures. It's very, very useful to look these words up so you have full understanding. I give you all credit for giving it a shot. But yeah, it's always good if you're not sure, just look up the definition. All right. And it helps. It helps to get some understanding. All right. Sister Tawana said protected. That's not it. All right. There you go. Yeah, the Merriam-Webster app. Oh, wrong one. There you go. If you need the exact spelling. Yeah, it's very, very helpful. All right. Trooper Yagadar, give him a hand. Decorated. Or in this case, because you're talking about the analogy is a house, right? Furnished is another way to look at it. But think about what that's reading now. It says when he came back, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Empty, swept, and decorated, furnished. This house is looking immaculate. It's amazing. Somebody then came in, got all the clutter, all the trash out, swept up the place, cleaned it up. Probably had some Fabuloso simmering on the stove. I may not know about that. I may be dating myself. But yeah, it had some Febreze sprayed, clean, looking good, furnished. This is an unclean spirit now, right? Coming back. Now think about that from a practical perspective. Maybe somebody was strung out on drugs. Maybe somebody had a problem not smoking weed. They start themselves, you know what, I'm going to kick this, man. I'm going to try to get myself together, so on and so forth. Exactly. Pine salt and bleach. Listen, ain't nothing like a good smell at home. But yeah, got themselves together. They stopped smoking weed. They had a problem with drinking. Maybe they stopped drinking. We've all known people who get themselves together, right? And the first thing, oftentimes we tell about, hey man, you looking good, bro. Hey sis, you looking good. Keep it up. That house is looking clean, swept, garnished. People start, it shows when you're getting yourself together, right? Now, I'm gonna keep going. Verse 45 says, "Then goeth he." We're still talking about this unclean spirit, right? He said, "Then goeth he and taketh himself 7 other spirits more wicked than him." He just showed back up at the crib and it's looking wonderful in here. Because remember, he called it my house. He called that person his house. That's what this unclean spirit is saying. He been gone for a while. He come back, can't get no rest. He walks in like, wow, this place is amazing. There's so much in here for me to destroy. Because that's what they do. They work to destroy us. But he said, it's so nice in here. Let me go get some more folks. I'm gonna come back with. He says he came back with 7 more spirits, 7 Salaki. Then he goeth and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. You are absolutely on it, Chubi Yagada. I'm not gonna share your comment yet. I know y'all see it, but I don't want to share it yet. All right. More wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. So they back. The original unclean spirit is back. He got 7 of his boys. They in there. Now he got a place to rest. Now he got a place to destroy. Now he got now he can now he's comfortable, right? It says, and the last state of that man is worse than the first. Shuba Yagadar said, that's crazy. It's like you made room for more sin by returning back to the original sin. You had already overcome this. You had already stopped smoking weed. Maybe you had already stopped eating pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. Your health started getting better. Maybe your blood pressure was coming down. And then you went back to it. And you end up worse than you were before. That's our people. That's why we spiral. That's why we have to hit what they call rock bottom. We're worse off when we go back and allow these unclean spirits to take dominion and reign over our mortal bodies. And goes on. Christ says, even so shall it be unto this wicked generation. And we see it every day. Everybody knows somebody that they're back and forth. They don't have the discipline. They don't have they haven't learned how to fight their demons. And so they're back and forth and they're getting worse and worse every time. It's in the Bible. It's us. It's blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. But it's also a process, meaning this. But the process I'm talking about is we have to fight. We have to fight the demon to get him out, and then we have to continue to fight the demon to keep him out. It takes discipline to get him out. It takes continued discipline to keep him out. Because he's going to come back if he can. So how do you know you're following the law, statutes, and commandments? You're fighting a demon. You're fighting wars. You're fighting these demons every day. Everything you loved about the world is going to work to get back into you. And you have to fight every day to keep it out. It's not like the Christian church says, well, once you dip, you good. And you'll never have to worry about anything again. No, that's not it. It's a war. It's a battle. And you have to fight that battle every single day. I heard a captain say, it was years ago. I heard him say, just like if you think about smoking cigarettes, most people don't pick up a pack of cigarettes on their first date and they're blowing through a whole pack of cigarettes every day. That's not how it happens. How it happens is you slowly work, you know, you might smoke one or two, and then you smoking five, then you smoking 10. Next thing you know, you done blew through a whole pack, right? Well, that happens over time. And just like that happens over time, you have to fight your demons over time. Now, the twist is you can't give it too much time. You have to put forth the earnest effort to get over it. And that's where the battle comes in. That's where the battle comes in. That's where the discipline comes in. And the effort and wanting to be better than you are. And being around men in the ISUPK, sisters being around other sisters in the ISUPK, learning how to battle your demons. The brotherhood, the sisterhood. Understanding that, you know, sometimes you got to hear something that you may not want to hear. Sometimes somebody might have to check you. It just is what it is. And we all should be somewhat receptive to that. I mean, we should be very receptive to it. Excuse me, coming out of the world. So like if I would quit. Let's see. Salakia, and if you ever quit smoking and you go that much harder, if you pick them back up, I can attest to it. See, I appreciate your honesty. Appreciate your honesty, Trooper. Absolutely. Absolutely. These things come back and they take us over. I mean, if you, if anybody has ever had you know, gone through the process of trying to lose some weight, again, that's discipline. You might lose the weight, but how often do you hear about people losing the weight, and as soon as they get to whatever goal they got, like that is back on, and worse. They'll lose 10 pounds, gain 20. Just fighting your demons. All right. Let's see. All right. We're gonna go to Acts. We're going to Acts 15 and 10. This is another scripture that the Christians will use this scripture like, see, I ain't gotta follow the law. Acts 15 and 10. It says, now therefore, why tempt ye God? Why tempt you the Most High? Why are you tempting God? To put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples. You're putting a yoke on the neck of the disciples. Why are you doing that? Right? Which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear. And this yoke that they're talking about is what? What is the yoke in this context? Your walk of progress. Not quite. It's a little more specific than that. Now, therefore, why tempt ye the Most High to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? What is this yoke? We're gonna give it a shot. So, like, who else gonna give it a shot? What's the yoke referring to? Good night. All right. Just for time's sake, I'm gonna give it to y'all. But we're gonna go through the scriptures so y'all get it. So we're gonna jump back to verse 5. Okay. It says, but there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying, now we all know these are Pharisees. We all know they had a twisted view. These scriptures and Christ and everything, right? The saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. All right. So they're saying that again, these are these are Israelites from other areas. They're saying, oh, we got to circumcise them. They got to keep the law of Moses. We got to circumcise them. Verse 6. And the apostles and elders came together to consider of this matter. So they got together. Apostles, the elders. Hey, well, let's talk about this because they bringing this up. Let's figure this thing out, right? They had a council, right? Essentially, which is the same thing we do in the ISUPK. There's something that needs to be discussed. You know, there's a council, and then orders come out after that. And whatever the orders we get, that's what we follow. So verse 7 says, and when there had been much disputing. What does that mean? Much disputing. What does that mean? That's pretty straightforward. When there had been much disputing, a dispute. All right, I see you, sis. Who else want to give it a shot? Much disputing. All right. All right. Got a few answers. Who else want to give it a shot? Much disputing. All right, my Rick said debate. Trooper Yagadar said argue. Right? Those are both on point, but Trooper Yagadar is just a little more there. Yeah, they argue about this thing. There was much disputing. We got to argue about what we're supposed to do. Right? And it said, after that, Peter rose up and said unto them, men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago the Most High made choice among us, that the Gentiles by mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe. So we know that the Most High came to us and said, essentially, through Yahushua Mashiach, y'all go tell the lost children of Israel that are scattered, that are now considered to be Gentiles, y'all go tell them that they need to come back to following the law, statutes, and commandments. That's essentially what it is. Y'all go tell them that they get to come back. Because remember, they had to split between Northern Kingdom, Southern Kingdom, because they weren't following the law. Then the Most High sent the Northern Kingdom off into exile. All that happened. But guess what? Christ came, get back to following the law, statutes, and commandments. Then you come back to the Most High. Right? Verse 8. And the Most High which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness. There goes another one. The Lord knows my heart. I can do whatever I want because the Lord knows my heart. Giving them the Holy Spirit, even as he did unto us. Right? Verse 9, and put no difference between us and them. We don't have any preference. He's not preferential to us, even though we were trying, more. We were closer to following the law. We didn't have it completely right. We still had the Pharisees was teaching us this crazy. Well, no, they were teaching the right thing. They just weren't doing the right thing. But we're closer to it, but he makes no difference. So they get to come back. Put no difference between us and them, purifying their hearts by faith. And then it says, now therefore, why tempt ye the Most High to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? Now, what subject are they talking about? Are they talking about the entire law or something very specific? What was the subject? What was the topic of discussion? What was the topic of debate? What were they arguing about? I believe you mistyped that, Trooper Yagdar. Circumcision by the 8th day, not the 8th year. It's probably a mistype, no sweat. But they were talking about circumcision. That's what the topic of discussion was. That's what the topic of debate was. Folks being circumcised, having to be circumcised according to the Mosaic law, right? So let's jump over real quick to Genesis 17 and 12. So Genesis 17 and 12. Absolutely, that would be horrible. Absolutely, that would be horrible. So Genesis 17 and 12 says, and he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with the money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. So that means strangers, servants, right? When they are born on the 8th day, they shall be circumcised. That's the law. Okay. So when it goes, Acts. So I'm gonna go back to Acts. What was it? 15 and 10. Was that where I was? Yes. All right. So the law is that you were to circumcise or be circumcised on the 8th day. So real quick, yes or no questions. Kanala'a. If you were not circumcised on the 8th day, had you broken the law? Yes or no? All right. Got an answer? Who else want to try? If you were not circumcised on the 8th day, did you break the law? I got one answer. Who else want to give it a shot? All right, we taking down. Trooper Yagadar is absolutely correct. You had broken the law if you were not circumcised on the 8th day. Now, second question. If you were circumcised on the 10th day, did you break the law of circumcision? And Salaki, let me rephrase that. If you were not circumcised on the 8th day, had that law been broken? The answer is yes. If you were circumcised on the 10th day, had that law been broken? Trooper Yagadar says Khan. Rib says Khan. Correct. We're still broken, right? Getting circumcised later, other than the 8th day, because that's the commandment, means the law was still broken. The law was still broken. It doesn't matter after the fact. That's just like if you marry someone from another nation, right? And then you come into the truth and realize, oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. You're not allowed to then get a divorce because the law was already broken. Matter of fact, if you did that, you got a divorce, you'd then be breaking the law to try to fix a law that you already broke. Like none of that doesn't make sense, right? So that's the spirit behind the idea saying, hey, why, it's like it. Therefore, why tempt ye the Most High to put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? I mean, you're asking them to go back and fix something, fix a quote unquote old sin. Nobody else was required to do that. Everybody else was able to come in through grace and then start following the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what that means. It doesn't mean, hey, you don't have to do anything. It means once you're born again, once you understand it, you need to start following the law, statutes, and commandments, and you come into the truth that your past sins just aren't held against you. That's what that means. Not that you don't have the requirement to now stop sinning. All right. Let me see. No, I'm gonna go somewhere. So I'm gonna give a couple scriptures. Again, just reiterating what Christ taught about the law. Again, most of us are probably gonna be familiar with these, but if we go to Matthew 15 and 17, this is Christ speaking. It says, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law." It's not what he came for. That's absolutely the opposite of what the Christian church teaches. And this is Christ's words. This is the absolute opposite of what they teach. They teach he came and it was all nailed to the cross, and now we don't have to follow the law. And literally, Christ is saying, think not that I am come to destroy the law. That's not what he came for. All right? It says, or the prophet. They didn't come to destroy the prophets either. We need to listen to everything that they put out. Everything that they taught us, we need to remember and do. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Now, I heard General Muhammad give a mean breakdown on this. First question I have is, what does it mean to fulfill? Because that's one of them. Listen, this scripture used to confuse the mess out of me when I was in the world. What does it mean to fulfill? What does it mean to fulfill? Who wants to give it a shot? Take a time and look at this: to put into effect, to execute, right? To meet the requirements of. This is the general. It's another good one. Good job, sis. So General Muhammad, when I heard him break this down, it was amazing. He gave the analogy. He said, say you got a child and the mother keeps telling the child to go fulfill, go clean their room, go clean their room, go clean their room. They're not doing it, right? And the father walks in. And not that this analogy is not a comparison between Yahweh Shah and the Most High, between the mother and father. Just so we clarify that, and then you'll understand where I'm going. Give Chuba Kazaki a hand. He says the mother is telling the child, go clean the room, go clean the room, go clean the room. Child won't do it, right? So father walks in, and he walks up to the child and says, he talking to the child, and the child is like, well, I don't have to go clean my room. And the father says, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm probably messing this up, but the father says, I didn't come so you wouldn't have to clean your room. I didn't come so you wouldn't listen to your mother. I didn't come so you wouldn't have to clean your room. I came to fulfill it. What does that mean? You already said it, the complete thing, but think about it practically. I came to fulfill it. What does that mean practically? What's going to happen? All right, my ref said, follow through with what is inevitable. Follow through, definitely. Definitely. It's another way to say that. Khan, Triple Yagadar, to make sure you do it. So that's what Christ is saying. He didn't come to destroy the law. He didn't come to destroy the prophets. He came to make sure. He taught to make sure we follow the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. And with that, that is my time. I say Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Barakatah to the brothers. Yahweh Shemor Alatham Ba'Shem Yahushua to the sisters. And we will, Lord willing, see you all next week. Class dismissed.